Have you ever wondered why a cluttered room can leave you feeling stressed and anxious? Do you struggle with decision fatigue and overwhelm in a cluttered environment? Is there a link between clutter and your mental well being? Can focus? Can tidying up your space lead you to a clearer and more focused mind? Are you ready to unlock the secrets of mindfulness and productivity by clearing out the clutter? Join me after the intro for a conversation with a very special friend with whom we will answer these and many more questions. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's start. Hi, I'm Rosanna D, and this is Forgive and Thrive, a podcast where we explore what thriving in life means and how we can achieve it, irrespective of our past, current condition, and expectations that those around us or society in general may have. Let's go. Welcome to the Forgive and Thrive show. In the past few years, from Marie Kondo onwards, I've seen quite a few articles and books discussing the relationship between clutter and mental health. When our home is overflowing, it can be hard to focus, and studies have shown that it increases the stress hormone in our body. And this alone is a powerful argument in favor of decluttering, if you need one. When our space is a mess, so are we. And the same applies also to our working spaces. I know for a fact that when my desk is overflowing with papers, I become inefficient. And the only way for me to improve my productivity is to pause and clear my desk. Can you resonate? Most of you may agree that a cluttered house or office leads to a cluttered and perhaps even stressed mind. So today we want to go on a journey of discovery at the intersections of psychology, productivity, and personal growth. We are going to shed light on a simple yet powerful solution: decluttering for mental clarity, for greater peace, productivity, and purpose. And we dive into this fascinating topic in a conversation with our guest, Donna Barwald. Donna is a professional organizer and author of This Mess is Making Me Stress: How to Organize Your Home and Find Peace. Before launching her own business in 2009, Donna had a career in arts management, marketing, sales, fundraising, and special events, working in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. Today, she's a recovering perfectionist, organizing homes, offices, and special events for her clients in LA and remotely. Hi, Donna. Welcome to the Forgive and Try show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on board. We are talking today about our spaces, and I normally talk about our mind and what's going on there. But our spaces, I know for a fact that when the house or the office, my desk are a mess, I am a mess and I cannot be productive. So I'm really eager to dive into this topic. But before we start with that, I really would love to know a little bit about you and how you started. And in particular, I just mentioned you started from a career in completely different fields, art management, marketing, sales, and then you became a professional organizer. How did it happen?
So, how did that happen? Well, first of all, I've been organizing my whole life. And because I'm so organized, that's what helped me in my career. I would produce plays, and I was in charge of all the special events and fundraising and all of that. I was also office manager of so many different offices when I was in sales and marketing. And so you have to be very organized for that. Then I had my kids. I had my kids very late, and everything kind of stopped in my career. I had waited all my life to have kids. So then that was it. And I thought as soon as they were, old enough to go to preschool or whatever, I would go back to work. I kept trying to go back to work, but it was difficult. My son had a very difficult childhood. We now know that they're autistic. We didn't know that. They were so functioning at such a high level that people thought that there was something going on, but they couldn't tell. But every time I tried to work, I'd get the calls from the principal's office, so I had to be very flexible, and I couldn't, to be honest, I couldn't keep a job. I gave up my management role when I had them, and then I kept trying to do some part-time things, and it didn't work because I was constantly needed by my kid. So that's how I became professional about it. And let's face it, when you've gone through all of your friends and all of your family, and there's nobody left that you just personally know to organize, it's like, okay, well, then their friends start calling you, and that's how you start. So that's at least that's how it started with me. And I started with just moms, right? Because I was a mom and had to be completely organized in a different kind of way. I actually had postpartum depression after my first, and I didn't know what to do with myself because it was all just so overwhelming. And by the time I had my second, I had hit my stride, and I figured out some things that will help other moms. And so that was that. But as I've gotten older, my clients have changed. And now that I'm approaching seniorhood, my clients tend to be older now. And I found that the audience for my book also is older. And I'm not sure about your audience, but everybody I've talked to can benefit.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Mess is a problem for everybody. And so when did you start noticing that there was a linkage between clutter and stress, so much so that you wrote this book?
Well, personally, I know that I would start to organize when I was a kid. I started when I was completely stressed. I lived in a very small house. I think it was 1,400 square feet with three sisters, a cousin, a great grandmother, and two parents. I mean, and it was a three-bedroom house and one and a half bathrooms, and there was nowhere for me to go. And I was struggling always with anxiety and depression. So what I found is that when I would organize my environment, I would feel like I had some control over something and I would be better. It would help for that moment. Also, I would lock myself in the bathroom and then clean under the sink and organize the mess that was under the sink. I now know, and I didn't know then, that my mother had to be ADHD. Both of my kids are neurodivergent. Both have ADHD, and the younger one is autistic as well. And so the neurodivergent mind is very creative, extremely creative, and always on to the next thing, but is always looking forward and not behind. And so cleaning up is looking behind at what you just did. And now I'm on to the next thing and I'm not cleaning up. I couldn't live that way. And so I was always organizing the kitchen. Also, I'd get up early in the morning and organize the kitchen because I'm the one who had to put away the dishes from the dishwasher and nothing fit. And it drove me out of my mind. It was harder than it had to be. And I'm cursing and dragging everything out of the cabinet and then putting it all back nicely and all that. She never threw anything out. It was because of my mom that I became an organizing person, and it also started my understanding of what goes on mentally and because of my sister. When it was time to clean our room. We couldn't go out until we cleaned our room, right? And on Saturday mornings, that was the time. And she would be completely overwhelmed and she wouldn't know where to start. So it's not like my room is always neat. I'm not a neat Nick. I mean, if you saw the rest of my office, not just what's pretty behind me, you would know I'm not a neat Nick. But everything has a place and I know where everything goes. And if somebody's coming over, somebody tells me to clean up, tidy up or whatever, I can do it quickly. And I'm not just throwing things into drawers, and shoving things into a closet. They all have an actual place. So there's a difference between being neat and being, organized. And then my kid also, the mental health part of it, actually does have OCD. And people talk about OCD and, it's like, oh, I have to have everything just, nice and neat because of my OCD. They don't have OCD. It's a real problem because then you can't function until everything is nice and neat. Maybe because hoarding is the opposite side of OCD. It's still OCD. People don't know that. So there's a lot of actual diagnoses that sort of follow along with clutter, either the absence of it or the unable to throw anything away kind of thing, or just because you're creative and you're moving on to the next thing, or you're ADHD and you just don't have those executive function skills, right? So my whole life was leading up to knowing that there's a link between clutter and mental health, which is what you asked. And that's when, during the pandemic, I realized, it's not just that people say they don't have time to clean up or declutter or do whatever, get the garage in order or whatever it is, because they had plenty of time. There was nothing but time. People had the time because there was nothing else they could do. But it was easier to just, close the door and, go take a nap or go watch Netflix or whatever. It was like avoidant behavior. And so I tried to think, why were people avoiding this when people know, or maybe they don't realize, how good it makes you feel when you have less around you and there's more space, so the energy is flowing. I mean, why do you go to a hotel room? People love hotel rooms because it's clean and spacious and there's this feeling, in the air. And so people love that feeling. They just don't know how to get there and they don't know how important it is. But I realized during the pandemic, when everybody's mental health was failing and I was getting older and my entire business disappeared because I go into people's homes and you weren't allowed to do that, that I had to do something. And so it sort of percolated during the pandemic. And then I wrote the book and it came out a year ago in March. And I really put together the link and explained it because I had actually done a workshop with a friend a couple of years ago, and she is a therapist. And so with me and my organizing and her with her therapeutic knowledge of the whole thing, we put together like both sides of the thing, why we're cluttered, how it affects us, and then me, what to do about it. So I took a lot of the information that she had gathered already, especially the studies that she had done, and put that into the book. So the beginning of the book talks about the link and what I call the clutter feedback loop. Okay, so a feedback loop is something that the cause becomes the result, becomes the cause, becomes the result. So when you're depressed, you can't get off the couch. Everything you're eating and you're sleeping and you're crying and you're whatever on the couch. And so everything is all around you and it looks like a mess. So the problem is that the depression causes the mess, and then the mess causes more depression and makes you even more unable to do anything about it, because when you're stressed, the hormone, the cortisol level you talked about in your introduction, goes sky high. And when you have that stress hormone in you, it causes fight, flight, or freeze. If you have the fight, like I do, that's when you tackle the mess, right? There's a reason why we use the word tackle, because it's the fight response. I'm going to tackle this mess. I'm going to gain control and I won't be so overwhelmed. I'm going to get on top of it, right? When you're on top of your paperwork, right? The flight is you see this and you can't stand it and you don't want to deal with it and you go away. Close the door, right? Close the door and go away. Fight, flight, freeze response. You want to go, you have to. You've been reading my book and everybody tells you you got to declutter, and you go in to do it, and the first thing you touch brings up a negative emotion. The first thing you see is, like, say you're going to tackle, right, your papers. And the first thing you see is an overdue bill or a bill collector or something that's going to bring up some negative emotion. You're going to be mad, you're going to be sad, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be full of regret. There's going to be something there. And that is going to flood you, and you can't do anything when you're flooded with negative emotion. And so you freeze. There's nothing you could do. And then you put it away, and, maybe next year you'll try again. Which is why I come up with a solution of how to start when you're feeling that, so that you don't get flooded with the negative emotions first. So you actually get some stuff done. You make some decisions that you can make easy without being like so full of indecision that you can't move, right? And so my goal in life is to help you get started and to keep going and to feel better about yourself, be proud of your space, and invite people in. Because we were isolated for so long with the pandemic. It hurts me when people say, I'm embarrassed to have anybody come over. Nobody's looking at your stuff. Well, they might, and they might say, oh, good, she's a mess like me. Because very few people are company ready, what I call company ready, all the time. People can get there, but like when you start a party, that's not organized. That's staged. You stage and on TV, on HGTV. I don't know if you have that in the UK, but the home channels, right? That show these beautiful houses and the reveal, and they take the before pictures and then the after. Anybody can do that. I can mess up what I have now and it looks like before, and I put it all back together and it's after. So that's staged. That's not real. But when you've got piles because you don't know what to do with them, because you don't have a place for everything, because there's stuff in there you don't want to look at either consciously or unconsciously. I mean, there's a reason why people don't like to go into certain rooms. They just feel icky. And it's like, why do I feel icky? And then you realize that that room has some sort of emotional hold on them. And that's why they don't want to be in there. But when you realize all of this and you get to a place where you can start small and what I call you build your decision-making muscles, then you can start what I hope will be a healthy habit of organizing or a healthy habit of decluttering and organizing. And then you'll feel proud to have people into your space. And it won't matter what it looks like because you'll feel better about yourself. So many people feel less than, they feel, inferior to other people because they can't get it together to have their home organized. And I feel terrible that they think that way because organization is a skill. And look, would you be embarrassed, ashamed, and all these negative things about yourself if you couldn't play a concerto like Mozart? No. Mozart has musical talent. You don't. You may be talented in, something else. Maybe you can draw. Even if you can't draw, would you be embarrassed or ashamed that you can't draw like Matisse or Monet or? No. That's just a talent that they have and you don't. That's what I want people to take away from organizing. It's a skill. It can be learned. You can do better at it. You may not always be as good as somebody else, probably won't be, but you can be better than where you are right now. And you can feel good about yourself. It's like, wow, look what I did. If I took an art class right now, I used to cry during art because I was a perfectionist. It never looked like what it was supposed to. And I realize now because I needed glasses when I was little. But anyway, it never looked like what it was supposed to. I don't have the art gene. Okay. But I can look at something and tell you where it's out of place, how to make it look better and all that. I can't draw. But I'm not distressed anymore that I can't draw because I know I have something else to offer. And so that's how I want other people to feel, that they can take a class or learn or read and learn or whatever it is to get better at this skill. But it is a skill. You can be better at it and then you can feel better about yourself because people are like top of their game in their professional life and they think that they're amazing. I mean, they are amazing. And then they come home and they feel like horrible because their house is, and they're like, oh, I'm such a fraud. If people knew what, my house looked like. Yeah. No, it's often a matter of circumstance, like you're hurt and or you're weak in terms of physical strength, or you can't climb ladders anymore, or you're busy, or you live in a house with 5 other people and, what can you do? You can only do what you can do. It's not your fault. Other people have a mind of their own. Whatever it is, it has nothing to do with your self-worth. And I think the problem is that our parents, I'm sort of the last of the baby boom, but my mother was also a baby boom. because she had us really young. She was only 19 when she had us. But there's that generation that held like standards to like your housekeeping. And that's what made you good or bad or whatever. It's like by how well you kept house. Well, people don't have those standards anymore. There's more to life than, white glove treatment on your furniture all the time. And that's okay. But it's not okay when you don't have a place for everything and there are just piles and now you can't get out of the door because you don't know where the stuff that you need for school is and you're late and your kids can't go on the field trip because you don't know what happened to that permission slip that you were supposed to sign, or you miss an important meeting because you can't find the paper, that gave all the instructions on it or whatever, or your inbox, let's put it into the digital age, your inbox is so crowded you can't find the email that told you, some important piece of information, or you've missed it because all this other stuff is cluttering your inbox. Whatever it is, I don't want that to happen to you. I want you to have an easy life. I want you to feel that energy, the positive, lovely, go with the flow kind of energy that you can't really describe to people unless they've actually felt it themselves.
Absolutely. And there's so much already to unpack. You probably went through the whole episode already with this answer. That was fantastic. But I would like to start with probably a silly question. How do you define clutter? And again, it might be something silly, but
No, it's not silly.
for example, for me, might be something precious and to really keep for you might just be clutter. So we are all different. So how do we recognize that something is actually clutter? And
So my definition of clutter is anything that's in your environment that you did not intentionally place there. If I've got a shake right here, okay, my protein shake, I didn't drink it yet this morning. So I've got my shake here. It's sitting on my desk. I'm about to drink it. I intentionally placed it here because I'm going to drink it. Now, if I forget about it and I leave it here and, 10 days from now, the thing is still sitting here rotting, that's clutter because it was not intentionally placed here to stay for 10 days. It was supposed to be here for the hour and then be drunk and thrown out. Okay. So anything that's not intentionally placed, I think, is clutter. And it could be a lot of stuff. Like you could decorate your house with a lot of stuff and you intentionally put it there. And that's how you like it. And that's how you want it. And it means something to you and you love it. Okay. If it comes into your house because of whatever reason, you were cleaning out your parents' house, or you were emptying your own storage facility, or you decluttered your closet and now you've got a bag of clothes waiting to go to the charity shop, right? That is clutter because it wasn't meant to be there. It just happened to be there at some point, and then you forgot about it, or you stepped over it, or you haven't taken it to where it goes yet, or you got other priorities, and whatever it is. So things that you don't know that even they're there. What I call people are like clutter blind. Something is sitting in their house for so long that they don't even notice it anymore, and they just like walk around it and whatever. And that to me is clutter. If it doesn't serve a purpose where it is, that's clutter. I also have a section in my book about what is your clutter saying to you? Because people have different kinds of clutter, and that tells them that their personality or habits of what got them clutter. For example, if you believe in retail therapy and you go shopping every time you feel bad, okay? We call it retail therapy. Anyway, and you go shopping every time you feel bad, and then you have all this stuff sitting around with the still in the bags with the price tag on, and you forget about it, and this bag is sitting there forever. You finally open it, it's like, oh, I forgot I had that. People do that all the time. That tells you something about yourself, that you shop and buy too much unnecessary things because if it was necessary, you'd be using it already. And so you're using things to make you feel better. Then there's people who have everything their parents owned on their bookshelves still in their house, whether they like it or not. It just went straight to their bookshelf. And it might be something that they thought was, precious to their parents, or they remembered it growing up. But it could be something that's, ugly, and they think they have to keep because it was their parents, or it was a gift because it was their parents. You didn't intentionally put it there because you loved it or that you're using it. It's just there. Okay? That is also clutter. And that tells you something about yourself. Then there are papers, everywhere. And half of it is junk mail and half of it is old bills. And then there's invitations for things that either you missed or you went to or whatever, but they're over now. You don't need them. And all kinds of that. And then you're like, okay, well, what is that telling you? Because it doesn't belong on my kitchen counter or my kitchen table. Papers belong in an office. If they're done with and you have to keep them, they belong in a filing cabinet. If you don't have to keep them, they belong in the shredder or the garbage, or it never should come into your house in the first place. So that also tells you something about yourself. Okay. And so your clutter is what you have that you consider clutter. That's the important thing. It doesn't matter what I consider clutter. It's what you consider clutter. But my overall definition is something that's sitting there that you didn't intentionally place there for it to live. The first question you should always ask is, and you pick something up, and hopefully you don't do papers first. Papers have a lot of emotion attached. So do everything else first. You can gather up all the papers and put them all together and then put them somewhere where you're not going to forget about them, but you are going to go through them when you're a little stronger, when your decision-making muscles are stronger. But you pick up something and you say, is this useful? If it's not, you throw it away. If it is, then you say, is it useful to me? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Okay, then it's not useful to me. That's when you know you can donate it or try to sell it. But if you can't sell, then you end up donating it anyway, right? So that is how you would approach that kind of thing. And if it is useful to you, then you might as well find a place for it, make a place for it, create space for it, because you want to use it. You can't use it if it's hiding somewhere or stuffed in a closet or, whatever. You don't know you even have it. So that's how you would approach it. But anything you didn't intentionally mean to have where it is, to me, is clutter.
I love that. Everything has a space and every space has something in it. I also love what you're saying on how to start, because I think a lot of people may, especially when there is a lot of clutter and especially when the situation has probably been left for some times, it can be overwhelming. Where do I start? And so can we go in detail, step by step?
Very practical? Sure. So the first thing I would do when you're overwhelmed, go take a shower. Why? Because the negative ions in running water actually lift your mood. There's a reason people love the beach or waterfalls or rivers. People flock to water. Why? Because moving water has negative ions, and negative ions lift your mood. Now, while you're in the shower, look at what's around, and usually you'll have half empty or completely empty, shampoo bottles. You tried something, you didn't like it, you didn't throw it away because there's still a lot of it, but you're not using it, so now it's cluttering your shower, okay? Bits of soap, whatever you find in the shower, you can make quick decisions. You're not attached to anything, right? When you do your shower and everything's all nice and neat, it's like, okay, wow, I did something. It's a quick win and you can start. So there's that. Now you're going to go reach for a towel, okay? What towel are you going to reach for? The nicest, the biggest, the fluffiest, the newest, probably. You don't want anything all raggedy or whatever. Don't keep the nicest things for company. you deserve it just as much as they do. You know, why are you any less than they are? So you should probably only have things that are nice enough for you and company, unless you're really in dire straits and that's all you have. But whatever you have that's the nicest is probably enough. You probably don't need 30 towels, right? So, pick out the nicest towel that you have. Now, that's your favorite, okay? Based on that, you can pick out a few other favorites. And then you know the things that you're never going to reach for. It's why they're in the back of the cabinet. They're all tattered and whatever. It's like, why have them? At that point, you take those and you put them in the donation bag. Okay? And so now you've decluttered the shower and you've decluttered your towels. And now you're going to open your drawer or whatever for all the products. You probably, if you're like me, have, I don't know, 4 different mousses for your hair, and you've got, 3 different face creams and what. People are always buying things, trying them, finding something they like better, but they never throw anything out. My advice: when you buy something new, you throw something away or let go of it into donation or whatever. Your cabinets and drawers and everything can only hold so much. So when you buy something new or that you like better, that's the one you're going to use, and you're not going to use whatever you had because that's why you replaced it. So get it out of there. Another quick win. Now you've got less in your cabinets or your drawers or on your vanity or whatever. Whatever you're using now is what you should have around you. And if it was from an old life, an old hairstyle, an old, anything other than where you are now, it doesn't need to be there. And so you do your bathroom first. You do your bathroom first because you're not attached really much emotionally to anything in there. Now, there are 2 things that I have in my bathroom. I have my great grandmother's sister's curling irons that you would actually put in the fire and straighten your hair or curl your hair. So we're talking from, 1910, 1920. I keep those there because every time I'll see it, it'll make me smile and I'll remember my great grandmother. That one thing is this whole big memory, but that's all I need. I don't need every single thing of my great grandmother to remind me of her. It's not hidden in my garage in a tote. So bathrooms generally, though, don't have memories, and you can just easily do those. Very quick win. The next thing is you do your kitchen. And when you're asking questions about is it useful, to me, the question you really want to know is this good for my mental health to keep? You don't want things that bring up a negative emotion when you look at them, when you touch them. Most people think it's too difficult to get rid of things that have good memories. They're sentimental, they're good memories. But people have a lot of clutter that are attached to bad memories. I spent way too much on this. I can't throw it away. I'm so stupid for spending so much money. And, and what? You're going to punish yourself for the rest of your life looking at this thing and thinking how stupid you are that you spent the money for it, especially since you're not using it? You don't want bad memories or emotions attached to things because you're just punishing yourself. So that's very practically, that's how you would start. So people think, oh, I can't declutter because I need, a school vacation. I'll wait until the summer and I have lots of time if you're a teacher. Or I'll wait until, the 3-day weekend when I can, And here's the thing, that's overwhelming. Even a professional doesn't spend more than 5 hours a day organizing. You can't. You'll be so exhausted mentally and physically that you can't get up the next morning. So you want to do things a little at a time. So yeah, I'm not going to tackle the whole kitchen. I'm going to tackle the silverware drawer. While I'm waiting for my coffee, I'm going to declutter my mugs because I know which coffee mugs I like. You can always find time to declutter a cabinet, a drawer, a shelf, one at a time. Just think in terms of that, and wherever you are and whatever time. So you don't have to do the whole kitchen. You're there in the morning while you're waiting for your toast, take care of something in the morning. If there's something that aggravates you in the morning, oh, this is driving me nuts. Make a note of it. I use my phone, the notes function in my phone all the time. You make a note of it And then when you have an extra half hour, that's found time, found minutes, found hours that you can use. They're a bonus, and now you can take care of the things that you have in your list that aggravated you and that you're going to take care of. Because the last thing you want to do is be aggravated first thing in the morning. It's going to ruin your whole day. So as you find things, and I always say aggravation is motivation. So whatever aggravates you is going to be big on the list of things to declutter and organize so that you can have a smoother time in the morning. So aggravation is motivation. Make a list of things that you need to get to. Don't tackle the whole room at once. Think about it in very short times. Other people say set a timer if that works for you. So everybody has a different style. It also doesn't have to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. That's really important because I was a perfectionist and I would put off things until I could do them right. And you find out once you become a mom, there's no time at all, ever, where you have the time that you think you need to do something right. Everything is boom, 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 get on to the next thing. Done is better than perfect. And so if you keep that in your head too, then you'll know there are different levels of organization. It doesn't have to be matching boxes with the beautiful handwritten tags. Organization can be just having the same kind of things, thrown in the same space together until you get to another level of organization if you have time or if you need it. As long as you're going to put it away and not feel bad that you can't keep up that level of organization. So things that are organized, things will be put away in their right place if you know where it is and it's easy to get to. And you'll use things if they're easy to take out. If it's easy to access, and that's why drawers are wonderful, you open a drawer, you put it in. And if you've got drawer dividers even, that's even better. But these are different levels. You just want to make it so that you can keep up whatever system of organization you can have. And it doesn't need to be perfectly detailed in order for it to be organized. That's another level. Form follows function and pretty comes later. I say that all the time. So don't go out and buy bins. Don't go out and buy baskets. Don't go and then get organized. No, you need to see what you're going to have first. You need to see how much room, whatever that is, takes. Then you have to decide where it's going to be and how it's going to be contained. You may want to have beautiful baskets on your shelf, but if that's not going to easily hold what's actually going to be there on the shelf, then you're going to have clutter because it's not going to look the way you want. Visual clutter brings stress. So you want to minimize the visual clutter. One of these studies that I have in my book, they did a test and people who were in a cluttered kitchen environment ate more cookies. Isn't that weird?
Wow.
You eat more when your space is cluttered because I guess you're stressed and people eat when they're stressed. So you want to minimize the visual clutter, but not to the point where it's impossible or difficult to take things out and put things back. So lots of what you see on the TV shows, oh, that's staged. That's not real life. That's not going to work. That's not going to always look like that. And you wouldn't want it to because that's just more time that you have to spend doing stuff. And, I'm all about the quick and easy. I do like beautiful environments, but I'm also about the quick and easy. And when it's decluttered and things are at, a level that feels comfortable to you, you're not done. Organizing is like exercising. You have to do something every day, right? And so you keep up a level by always decluttering. When things come in, Christmas comes and you're going to be inundated with stuff and you want to create space for the new things and so that's a really good time to go through and declutter because think of it this way. If you're holding tight to something in your hand, you can't open your hand and receive anything new without dropping the thing that's in your hand first. So if you're going to receive something new or new gifts, you have to let go of the old. So you can teach that to your kids and you tell them, I know that Santa's bringing you, this, that, and the other thing. I've seen your list. Oh, you're going to have so much stuff. Why don't we go through and see what we can donate to the people living in the homeless shelter. It's also easier to get rid of things if you can imagine who you're giving them to and not that it's just going into a landfill somewhere. And it's easier for kids to give their things up if you can tell them where it's going. Don't ever get rid of anything of anybody's without them knowing. Don't. They'll never trust you again. Your kids will never trust you again, and they'll hold on to things tighter if they think that you're going to get rid of things. Now, you can use it as incentive. For example, you'll always want to have a donation box. So now you can tell your kids with their toys, if they don't pick something up, oh, I guess you don't really love that. I guess you don't really need it then. Okay, so it's going to go in the donation box. Now, if they want it, they can go retrieve it from the donation box and put it away. But if they wait too long, or they don't do anything about it at all, oh, well, then they really didn't need it, They don't care that much about it. So bathroom, kitchen, living room, entertainment center, DVDs you don't watch anymore because you're streaming everything, or old electronics that are just sitting there because you didn't know what to do with it, but they're not plugged in or being used. You want to streamline all of that. Then do your bedroom, but don't start with the back bedroom that you never go to anyway. Like if you're an empty nester and it's your kid's living room and it becomes your kid's bedroom that became the junk room. The other thing is that define every space. When you define a space and you know what's supposed to happen there, number one, you can get buy-in to have people help you declutter it. Okay. Number two, you're less likely to just throw things in because it's supposed to be something. So you want to designate the space for things. So then people won't be tempted to junk it up. And it's easier then to keep it neat. You just have to see what it is you do in that space. Designate a space for a purpose. Make a list of whatever, all the activities that are there, and then put everything you need for those activities there. So you want to store things where you use them, and you want to only have things in a space that are going to be used for that activity in that space. Sometimes you have to clear out the old dreams to make room for the new dreams. I love bringing home art from the countries that I've come from. Well, now I'm going to get rid of the boring art that I started with as a young couple, needing something to put on my walls. And I'm decluttering my walls now, and I'm making room for the art that I'm bringing home from my travels because that means something to me. So just because you had it doesn't mean you have to have it. Just because you kept it doesn't mean you have to still keep it. You don't want to have things just because you've always had them, or they were theirs, or they were your parents. Because what if you're keeping that ugly vase because your mother had it and you think it was a treasure to her? And she only had it because her mother-in-law gave it to her and she put it out every time she came over, right? To show that, she still had it or whatever. But she hated that thing. Now you have it and you hate it and you're keeping it because you think it's important. You can remember your mother with small things that don't take up space you need for things that you love. You don't have to keep every piece of furniture. You don't have to keep every birthday card. You don't have to keep, it could be one thing and it brings the memory, and that's enough. And then you don't have to live with so much or feel bad about getting rid of things. Bless other people with your stuff. So you really can live with a whole lot less than you have. People are proving it all over the place. Think about what you would take with you if you got to go to a vacation home for a year. Anything you would bring with you to a vacation home for a year is what you would need in your house. That way it covers all the seasons and all the holidays. Otherwise, you really could live with less. And I'm not telling you you have to get rid of all your stuff, but you're going to be happier when there's less, because there's less to clean, there's less to put away, there's less to wash. Try to live with less only because it's going to make your life easier. It's not about the way it looks. Nothing is about the way it looks. And you're not organizing and decluttering for the way it looks. You're organizing and decluttering for the way it feels and how it's going to help you in your life operate with more ease. You have literally room to breathe. In an uncluttered room, you can do that because you're not looking at everything going, I know I should clean that up, but I really don't want to. Or, or just, I hate my house, I need a bigger house. Because chances are you don't need a bigger house. You need better organization in your house. So
That is such a useful advice, but so very true. We can live definitely with less. And with this message, I would like to come back quickly on you. Is there anything else or what you do that you want to share with us? How people, for example, can find you if they want to know
Oh,
more?
sure. You can find me by Googling Donna Barwald, Barwald. My company is called neatlyarranged.com. I have a book called This Mess Is Making Me Stress. And oh, I'll tell you this. If you buy the book and then you email me, which you can find on my website, neatlyarranged.com, email me what the last line in the book is, and you'll get an hour free with me. Talking like this, you can show me around your house, a problem area, or ask advice on what I should do about this or whatever. Anyway, a free hour with me. All you have to do is buy the book and then tell me what the last line in the book is. I'm also coming out with a new book by the end of the year, I hope. Will be This Move Is Making Me Stress. And it's about moving, about clearing houses, about clearing out your parents' house, about moving into downsizing and going into assisted living, or into a family member's house, things like that. Those are the big challenges. So that's coming out too. I have a Facebook group called This Mess Is Making Me Stress, where you can join and give advice and get advice. So join me there. This Mess Is Making Me Stress. And I have a playlist, which this will be on YouTube, of my appearances. So if you want to listen to me while you declutter, there's that. So yeah, that's how you find me. And I hope you do, because I am on a mission. I really want everybody to stop stressing and to live their best life. And if I can be a part of that, I'm very happy to do that.
Fantastic. Donna, if there was one take-home message that you would love everybody to remember from this conversation, what would it be?
Start and continue a healthy habit of decluttering and organizing for your mental health. Just as exercising is for your physical health and mental health, really, then decluttering and organizing is also for your mental health. And organizing is a skill that you can get better at, and it will make your life easier.
Fantastic. Well, as we come to an end of our exploration into the link between clutter and mental health, I hope you are feeling inspired and empowered to take action. I know for once what I'm going to do when we finish here. Remember, decluttering isn't just about creating a tidy space, it's about reclaiming control over your environment and ultimately over your life. By clearing out the physical clutter, you are making room for mental clarity, peace, and focus. Whether you choose to adopt minimalist principles, embrace organization systems, or simply let go of what no longer serves you, as Donna just said, know that every small step you take towards decluttering is a step towards a brighter and lighter future. And with this in mind, I want to leave you with a quote from Hans Hofmann, who said, "The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak," which is very aligned with what you mentioned earlier. So very true. Donna, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, for sharing so much about what you do. I enjoyed listening to you, and I could have continued, quite frankly, for another hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we would love to know what you think about this topic. How much is cluttering your environment stressing you out? If, like most of us, you feel the impact of clutter on your mental peace, well, I'm sure you will find this episode very inspiring and useful to get you organized. But if you need extra help, do check Donna's website, her work, and obviously her book. And now you know that if you read it, you can have a full hour with her. So also follow her on social media. You will find all the links, as always, in the description of today's episode. Join me next time when we will continue exploring inspiring and challenging situations. Because remember, we are together in this journey. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell and like this video. See you in the next one.